half. We actually talked to quite a few people on the telephone over the last couple of weeks, and I see lots of I've met some of the people that I actually spoke to, and I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your week last week to spend the time on the phone with us. It was very interesting and valuable, the information that you provided to us. And I'd like to actually give some feedback on what we heard, just as a starting sort of point of reference for our discussions going forward. And then I'll go into sort of what are the specific objectives of our time together and a few housekeeping items, and then our agenda and how we're going to actually achieve our objectives for the day. Everybody that I spoke to, I guess I should say, probably one of the most important points that we discovered was that everybody is very supportive of marine planning. So that's a really great starting place. But some people did have some concerns going into the process, and I'd like to enumerate them. Some people had concerns about the process and around how inclusive, comprehensive, and timely it could be. So we heard those concerns, and I've passed them along to Bruce and Neil and Hillary. Some people also expressed some frustration that the process isn't moving quickly enough. And so again, we're going to try and hit the ground running and start today by documenting what's known about the region as a solid basis for moving forward. Some people believe that that this initiative should be led from a location in the north as opposed to Vancouver. So we heard those concerns. And some people actually think that a different organization should be leading this initiative. And so we heard you on that score as well. Most people that we spoke with said that there's definitely time. This is the time to develop a comprehensive plan for the region. They want to be involved, and they're hopeful. And it's really interesting to note that in the notes that we took, more than half of the people said that they were hopeful that this process will be successful and that they want to be part of it. And so those are the sentiments that we bring to this discussion. Had some discussions with the folks from the planning office about inclusivity and timeliness and all of that stuff. And basically, as Bruce mentioned right at the very beginning, the mandate of the office is to work together with people to develop the plan. And so I think that the group here is as committed as the folks that we talked to had hoped they would be. And in fact, going forward from here, there are plans to have several community meetings to talk about the kinds of issues that were raised in the pre-workshop interviews that we conducted. So in my business, in the business of community and stakeholder relations, we have this spectrum of engagement, and it kind of has 5 levels, and it starts off at inform and educate, and it moves all the way to collaboration and partnership. And what we say is that you can inform people or you can educate people, and that's good enough, and you can stay there if that's what you want to do, or if that's all you want to do. But if you want to move farther, if you want to deepen that relationship, you really actually have to, if you want to move from inform and engagement to involve and consult and collaborate, you really need to start with informing. So that's what we're here to do today. We're starting to build a very solid and factual information base about the region so that people up and down the coast can use the work that we do here today to move forward as part of a meaningful conversation. So that kind of leads me to the purpose of the workshop. And if people have questions or comments, then just hold your hand up as we go through this, because it's really important that we have a common frame of reference to start from. So this is the goal of the workshop: to obtain expert area-specific input into the development of socio-economic and cultural overview that supports the PENSEMA process going forward. So I did get a question around is this an expert workshop or is this a stakeholder workshop? And I guess the answer to that question is yes. In discussions with the planning group for the workshop, the starting position was we wanted to bring together experts, but when we talked to people, they said, well, there are people in industry and academia and in government who represent a solid base of traditional and community knowledge, and so we should invite those people here as well. And so that's what's happened. So this is an expert workshop on a number of levels. Oops. So as far as objectives for our time together, we have 3. And it's all focused on the socioeconomic, cultural, and community profiles of what's going on in your region. So we want to review and obtain input on the proposed analysis and the approach for the socioeconomic assessment. We want to foster engagement on the PENSEMA initiative. Oh, sorry, I missed the first one. And we want to obtain input on the socioeconomic, cultural, and information activities and community profiles. So really this is an information collection exercise, and we're looking to you to help the study team to develop that report. Are there questions about the specific objectives of what we're trying to do here today?
My question is where does this information go and what happens to it after?
Are you going to answer that question in your presentation? Or okay. Okay.
We've read information that this process, once you've got all your information, once it's been all put together, no matter how long that process takes, that there's no commitment from DFO to actually implement it.
Well, I mean, as far as it's Jack, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Jack. So the question was, what's the commitment from DFO to implement the information going forward? Well, I should say there's a couple of things going on here. There's really no decisions going to be made over the next day and a half from a planning perspective to implement. So really this is a fact-finding exercise. As far as the bigger process going forward, like when you get to that, okay. I think that there will be very detailed discussions on a community-by-community basis. Are you going to speak to the community engagement process going forward? So I guess the other thing that I really need to say is when Bruce and Hillary and Neil were talking to people about how should, and Steve as well, how should we move forward? People said, well, we want to be involved early. Like, we don't want to wait until, you know, the loaf is half baked before you invite us to the table. And so they said, okay, let's do that. And so, like, a lot of the questions are unanswered because they're looking to the communities, to the stakeholders, to First Nations groups to actually fill in the blanks. So there's a lot of people who have questions about the process moving forward, but we don't have the answers because the group, the planning team, the planning office, they're really looking to the stakeholders and communities and First Nations. So I guess I don't know how satisfactory an answer that is, but I think